Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Paps, a wrestling VTuber and an artist, and today we'll be working on the 10th page of the comic. Much like last week, we'll be focusing on filling in um, the line art here with some actual color. I'm trying to look for Hawk's reference sheet. So, as you might have heard from my Twitter, I accidentally accepted the upgrade to Windows 11. Had a little bit of a It was kind of a touch and go there for a minute. It did end up installing on my computer, and it did end up upgrading. And I don't know if maybe I'm just not great with technology sometimes, or if it's just that like maybe it is genuinely this ass. But the few times that I try to navigate around Windows 11, it just felt immensely uncomfortable. I felt like the equivalent of like when you put shoes on a dog and the dog doesn't know what to do with the feeling of that, so they just kind of stomp around all willy-nilly, not really, all kind of like awkward and such. Very similar kind of feel to it. I just didn't feel comfortable or in control at any moment, which isn't great for the experience of a operating system. It's not exactly a glowing endorsement. Thankfully, it seemed pretty easy to switch back. So here's a tip. If you ever accidentally operate your computer in a sleepy haze and accidentally accept the upgrade to Windows 11 in your splash screen instead of doing the thing that you assumed it would do, which is take you to the login screen, you can roll it back pretty easily. I backed up my stuff just in case before I hit the rollback button, but I asked them very kindly to please put me back to Windows 10, and it worked. There wasn't any issues with my files or anything, so if you're in a hurry, you should do that. I reckon there's probably like a time limit of some kind, right? Like past 40 days or something, or past 10 days. I think you can no longer choose to go back to Windows 10. You'd have to manually install it, and that would wipe out your files. Hang on. So yeah, be careful. Make sure you've backed your stuff up, and worst comes to worst, you can just reinstall it. There's always a way backwards, but it's just kind of a huge pain. I really am glad nothing got harmed during the transfer back, though. That would have been quite the how do you do on a day when I'm supposed to be streaming. I exported my OBS scenes as well, just in case. Yeah, the one kind of beneficial thing to come out of this is that now I should be pretty much ready in case I do have to system reset. Like now my notes and everything are all up to date in my hard drive. So yeah, small favors, but I'm glad I never ended up having to use it. I don't know. There's a couple of things where you prepare for something and you feel like a hero when your preparations pan out, but there are some things that you prepare for and you're like, I really hope I don't have to use this. Like, you pack a flashlight in your suitcase, in your work stuff, and hey, one day you just happen to need a flashlight to go into like a dark corridor or something. And, you feel pretty great. You feel like, hey, I helped to prepare for that. My foresight helped me to navigate the situation. And it's a good feeling. It makes you feel like you are in control of your situation. It makes you feel rewarded for doing that. However, and this is vital, there's a difference between like that and being like, oh man, I really hope I don't have to go through this trouble. Like, there's some things that you prepare for and you really, really, really hope they don't come from pass. I find that it's those situations most often of all where the thing in question does end up happening. But then, because, if you're that bothered about preparations, then it probably means there's a high chance that the preparations will be necessary. I don't know. Not everybody has like the greatest instincts for planning. I certainly don't have like the best foresight, so I just try to prepare for everything. Like I can foresee some issues, but I can't foresee everything, so I just prepare for everything. I used to take a roll of duct tape and band-aids with me as a kid to school, just in case anything ever happened. Funnily enough, I did end up having to break those out from time to time. Nothing major though. Thank goodness. Yeah, band-aids in retrospect feels weirder because if somebody's like injured enough that they need band-aids, then probably hang on, what is going to be the structure of this? Okay. All right, let's start with this. But yeah, I don't know. If somebody's injured badly enough that like they need immediate medical assistance, I feel like at that point band-aids probably aren't going to help you, but you know, they're convenient to have around if nothing else. Duct tape though. I have never once regretted carrying duct tape. Genuinely genuine top tier kind of emergency ration sort of thing. Not in the sense that you can eat it or that you should eat it. Don't do that. But in the sense of all the things that I took with me, I ended up having to use that one the most. Okay, which one? Uh-huh. Hmm. Try to figure out what kind of colors I should use for this one. A long time ago, I bought a pair of novelty glasses that had red frames, and I thought that they were like one of those funny sunglasses where like they had like a reflective thing that made it look red, but it wasn't actually red. But no, it does. As it turns out, they are like genuinely just red goggles, literal rose tinted lenses. And as it turns out, when you have such things on you, it can make reality rather disorienting. I don't know. They were kind of fun though. There's still some. Unfortunately, I should probably be in the market for sunglasses at some point soon because I've been using the red lens ones on account of the fact that all the sunglasses that I have broke. I started out with two pairs of sunglasses and then both of those pairs broke. For one of them, the lenses just straight up fell out. I didn't sit on it or anything, right? Me sitting on something on one of my possessions is usually a death sentence for the possession in question, but not. It wasn't me this time. It wasn't me this time. The lens literally just like one day I was cleaning the house and I was putting the sunglasses away, and I touched the lens and they just kind of like plop, just kind of plunk out of there. Reminded me a little bit of like, have you seen those videos of like penguins just suddenly toppling over? Very similar vibe to that. Like, if I had to compare that to any one thing, that would be the most apt comparison. Almost lazily, even like that. That's the kind of word I would use to describe the motion of it. It was almost like lazy, easygoing. I still really like how Millions reference came out. Okay, that should be this panel done. This next panel still needs some love, particularly for the hair. Hmm. I'm reminded of like the summer, or I don't know. It was probably around the time that Macklemore started getting pretty big, when every single white dude in my class all kind of spontaneously got like a undercut. I don't know. I hesitate to call it like a low taper fade because I think that that's like a very specific kind of hairstyle. But uh, and again, I think Macklemore is to blame for this ultimately. That guy did a lot of good things, but that haircut wasn't one of them. I'm not kidding. Like every single dude in my class, and eventually I did too because it was just like the style at the time. Like I lived in a place that didn't have a lot of barbers who listened very well. So I was just like, "Hey boss, give me a haircut," and they were like, "You bet." And unfortunately, the only haircut that they had to give me was the buzz cut, or like no. Again, very difficult kind of terminology for this. Hang on. I do think it is just an undercut. I think that's the most appropriate language that I can use. Let's see. There we go. Just refilling these parts here. I might have to take another look without nightlight on. But frankly, I didn't get much sleep yesterday, so I think if I use my full computer brightness as it is, I might be disintegrated. I don't think my body will be able to handle the strain. I'm gonna be like that one Final Fantasy 14 gif. At least I think it's Final Fantasy 14 of the guy who's like slowly being incinerated by something off screen, and he's like ruefully smiling. That's gonna be me. I think my strategy so far for these, uh, for like the transfer to the color red, is just to grab whatever the color is, flip it to red, and then bump the saturation up to way up. I think what might help as well is if I did my fun little trick that I do whenever I hang on. Where is the color for this? Yeah, okay. I have this fun little trick that I like to do whenever I want to soften up the. What the hell? Oh, I see. Yeah, I have this trick I like to do whenever I like to soften up some line art. So what I've just done is that I've put the. Oh, hey, Cypress, welcome everyone. I'm Pabs, a RIC VTuber and an artist. We are currently working on the 10th comic page, just doing the flat colors. How was Paper Mario? I saw you were doing the Pit of 100 trials today. Did you have fun? Oh, thank you for the sub. Pabs, someone, yeah. Made it to floor 76, but died? Damn. That sucks. God, the Pit of 100 Trials is some of the most insane shit ever put into a video game. You're like, well, surely it's not actually 100 trials, right? And then no, it's 100 fucking trials. Go fuck yourself, I guess. Summon a Rice Beast? Hang on, I gotta... Hang on. Copy. Here we go. Thank you for adding another Rice Beast to the pile, Bunny. How do I... Hang on, where do I put this one? I need to, like, surround myself with them. I need to make, like, a ring. There we go. Go fuck yourself, and then there's a super boss dragon at the bottom waiting for you. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew about, was it Bone Tail? Is that the one? Yeah. What? That's like telling like the Boston Marathon runner, all right, nice work, nice work. I see you made it to the finish line. Hey, how good are your knife fighting skills? Because we hired like this gorilla and we gave it like a cavalry saber, and we like hypnotized it into hating this like picture of you. And now if it sees you, it's going to kill you on sight. The gorilla is like right over there, by the way. It's like right around the corner. You're gonna see it at any minute. We also dosed it with amphetamines as a bit. It really liked those. God, video game super bosses are so fascinating to me. I don't know. There's something that I really like. Hang on, I'm trying to like arrange the Rice Beast entourage. Yeah, there we go. I'm satisfied with that order. But yeah, God. What was I doing? Right, the comic. Oh, right, the line art trick. So yeah, I have this trick that I like to do whenever I want to soften up some line art, which is that I put the color layer on top of the line art, and then I do filter, blur, Gaussian blur to just make that a little bit more soft. Clip that to the line art layer, and then mess around with the luminosity and saturation so that it's more in line with the color. Yeah, maybe we need to hit it with more of the Gaussian blur. Also, I did forget to do the sclera of the eyes, but that's probably fine because we need to um that would have hurt a lot with the Gaussian blur part just now. I think we also forgot the eye tone, but that's fine. Just I can just zoom in on those 4 pixels. Something that I really want to try and work on as an artist is my ability to like understand sense of scale, and that's one of the reasons why I want to try, if only briefly, to do like traditional comic making, at least for a little while, because I feel like if I do that, I'll gain like a better appreciation of how much detail I have to put into things. I remember seeing this one person's workflow where she would okay, so it was a little bit complicated and a little bit resource intensive, but it seemed very interesting to me. So what she would do is she would make like a 3D model um, stage in Clip Studio, right? So she would use a different Clip Studio Paint 3D models to set up the scene, print out the 3D models, use a light box to draw like the line art and stuff over the 3D models, scan the line art, and then use that as the line art in the digital painting. Like I said, it's a little bit resource intensive, but it seemed to work for her, and it looked pretty clean. This isn't the lasso tool. Oh yeah, as always, if you're feeling a little tuckered out, feel free to run along. But if you want to stay by, chill with me. I always appreciate the company. I don't know. Is run along like I've always thought about run along as like keep on going or something, like keep on trucking. But I like somebody once told me that it also means like it's like dismissive. I don't know. I don't know. I don't use it with malice. I hardly use a lot of things with malice. I use some things with ignorance, but very rarely malice. Let's see. All right, I have a reference for a million. Ooh, do I want to do like full black on the hair? Maybe we can. That's a little. Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with this one. This is like very nearly pitch black. I forgot the Slayer, didn't I? 100% I did. Oof. Oh wait, no, I should make it like this color here. Okay, then over here. Perfect. Hmm. God. The wait, is this pure white? I forgot to do the tank top in panel one. Damn it. Where is there it is. Yeah. Now that I have this panel all kind of laid out, it reminds me a little bit of that. God, that yeah, I feel on that, Cypress, because I hate giving my characters way too much detail. And that's I look at shit like I see some of like the absurd amount of detail in some of the like Genshin designs, for example, and I bust into hives thinking about like how much work it's gonna have to be to put that in official art at any reasonable pace. And it's been a big benefit because me being lazy means that I design characters that have like a lot of like iconic stuff just to make sure that I don't have to put in too many details otherwise. But yeah, no, like even when I do that, I constantly forget stuff. Like for example, no fucking way I have a perfect example right here. So Hawk is supposed to have a holster on her hip on her like right thigh, and this holster. Oh, this holster. I forget this thing 90% of the time. During the first issue, during the drawing process of the first issue, I kept forgetting that shit so frequently that Raph and I made like a bit out of it. This thing is straight up my nemesis. Yeah, it's my fated enemy. But yeah, the thigh holster is I don't know. It's a bit of a like a Sisyphean struggle for me. I keep drawing Hawk, but I keep forgetting to draw the holster. It's like I say it's Sisyphean. That's not fully correct. It's more like if Sisyphus like had some kind of like belt pouch or something, and every few steps or so while he was pushing up the boulder, he needed to go back. The pouch like undid itself because it has like a crappy drawstring or something. He bought it off of Temu, of like out of Tartarus's version of Temu. So that's why it's not particularly high quality, and it falls off his hip. And so every few feet that he progresses with the rock, he has to go back a couple of steps and pick up the pouch and reattach it, and then continue with the rock pushing. That's what that hip holster is to me. I don't know. What would be my version of a Sisyphean punishment? Because I feel like for Sisyphus, the rock thing, I don't know. Do they just give everybody a rock? Or was it like specialty designed for that asshole? Because I feel like it's very much like a custom prison kind of thing, given the severity of his actions in like the cosmology of the underworld. So then does that mean that somebody else, like for example, would have to, I don't know, try to count all the sand particles in an hourglass before they finished falling to the bottom? Like, would that be somebody else's Sisyphean task? Actually, I guess my Sisyphean task is washing the fucking dishes. I hate doing the dishes more than any other um, household chore. Doing the dishes is has proven to be challenging for me. Yeah, we all share a little bit of Sisyphus. I don't know. It just feels weird to see a dude pushing a boulder up. Like if he had to like if he only had like one dish to eat out of and had to constantly wash that dish, I feel like I would be like, oh, he's just like me for real, for real. I do have more than one dish. I just feel like that would be more appropriate. Just to clarify. Actually, during university, I had much fewer dishes on hand. So I did. It was very much like a sort of use it, wash it or lose it situation. I don't know. In a way, it kept me even more disciplined. If you want to eat, you're gonna have to wash a dish. That's basically the ultimatum that was created through that system. In my defense, it worked for 2 years, basically. I do. I'm very happy with the array of dishes I have now, though. I have like one of these shallow bowls, right? I didn't used to really be a fan of shallow bowls. The solution: only have one bowl and spoon and fork just for you. So now you have to wash them just to eat. That's kind of the situation I put myself in. Very much so, yeah. That, or I guess if you're really desperate, you could probably just live off of like party supply forks and plates and like disposable cutlery and whatnot. I don't know. I don't think I could do that though. That would feel like a little bit wasteful to me. But if you got no other options, that is, if you have like a jackass wish granting genie, and you wish that the food on your dish always tasted fantastic, but then the genie makes it so that every time you touch a dish, it crumbles to dust. Using disposable cutlery might be the option for you. That was me in college. God. I feel like the cool thing about university that very few people talk about is how it develops like you as a human in a way that like depending on your situation might be very isolated from the experience of others. Like since you have to take care of a lot of like the housework and whatnot yourself as a college student, you kind of develop your own little system and what works for you. But the problem is that because that system is just kind of only serving one person, specifically you, it creates like this the a kind of perfect breeding ground for completely insane domestic management systems. You know, you wish to never have to do the dishes ever again, and the genie makes every sink and dishwasher in the world a radiation, so like the elephant's foot. God. Depending on how frequently you clear out your like food trap, that might just be a real thing with like actual spores. God, I have one of those biodegradable. My apartment complex has like biodegradable recyclement stuff, right? Like they have a special bin for like organic trash, and so I do my part to make sure that I'm sorting my garbage well, throwing out the recyclables in their own. I forgot the thruster of the jetpack. Fuck my life. Uh, we have, but yeah, they have a good trash management system that makes sure that you can sort your garbage. And so the issue with that is that I've taken to sorting my garbage before I throw it out. So now I have, like, for example, I have a little bin that I use for my organic garbage, and I I gotten kind of busy and I had forgotten to clear it out for a couple of weeks. Like, obviously, that thing is never going to smell good. But this time when I opened it up after a long kind of period of not opening it up, I saw like some dark stains on the lid of it when I opened it. And I immediately thought, oh my God, I've given myself spores or some shit. Like, immediately I was like, I have inhaled spores. Thankfully, as I later learned when I was like cleaning it, I took it out down to like the garbage room in the basement of the apartment complex to clean. Yeah, things have entered my lungs, and now I am going to have to learn to get along with them. God, but yeah, like I said, thankfully it turns out that it was just like some random hair or something. I don't know. It was just like moisture gathering on the top because of like the garbage inside. And so I didn't have to worry about spores. I was fine. Let's see. Oh, here's the belt. But yeah, that gave me quite a scare. I'm going to try and, even if it means throwing it out more frequently, I'm going to try to avoid that. That was kind of like my elephant's foot, where I was afraid to like approach it. But yeah, from now on, I'm going to try to throw it out more frequently, even if it means not throwing out very much at a time. It's a more responsible thing to do. If it's between going down more often and throwing out a few more biodegradable bags and accidentally reinventing penicillin, I think I'll just use the bags. I keep forgetting how batshit insane the story of penicillin actually is, because we give it a lot of um what do you call, like, it's given a lot of attention. I mean, it wasn't when I learned about it in science class, right? They give it a lot of attention because it shows like one of those situations where you invented something where you hadn't fully expected to invent it, right? Like, this guy didn't know that that bread was going to grow beneficial mold. He just knew that it grew mold. I don't remember how he found out about the curative properties of it, but I digress. And it was given as an example of, oh, look, sometimes science just happens and we don't know why. I don't know. Yeah, mold is our friend except when it's not. It's so fucked up that some mold is good and some mold isn't. Like if we had aliens come over at some point, they'd be like, okay, so this food you allow to rot and it provides benefits to you in the long term. And we're like, yes, we call that fermentation. It's a very important part of our diet to have like some of these dead rotting stuff in our food because it provides like unique bacterial benefits and like biotic support. And then the alien points to like a orange peel that's been left out for too long, and they're like, "But that rot is bad." And we're like, "Yeah, that's called mold, and if we breathe in like a not insignificant amount of it, we will die." I mean, I don't know. I guess we should count ourselves lucky. At least some of the mold is our friend. The whole thing could be a lot worse, all things considered. We're lucky that as much mold, we have this much mold that likes us. Of course, we're also one of the few mammals who can't produce their own vitamin C, so I guess we have a lot of defects in our own ways. Can you tell that this is back when I was still going ham with like fisheye perspective? I don't know. I like how it came out. I think the panel provides a good kind of feeling of Hawk shrinking down. Yeah, exactly. If it works. Whatever it takes to get from point A to point B. I was trying to look at panel at this one pin. Oh shoot, I forgot about the two disk slots. Hey, I still got the ruler in here somewhere, don't I? Hang on. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, allow for this disk slot here. I kind of miss it when technology was all kind of like this kind of palish green color. You know, I forgot the freaking antenna on this other one, didn't I? Oh yeah. Well, it's a good thing that I'm noticing these things now. Oh yeah. As earlier today, I read through some of the plot stuff in Dune because I got a little bit curious about it, and they recently released the second part of it, and it seems to be doing fairly well. I don't remember if I saw anything about it like being announced during the Oscars. I didn't really pay attention to the Oscars to be perfectly honest. I know Godzilla minus one and won something because everybody was cheering for our boy Godzilla, as they rightfully should be. Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's like a pretty good like base summary of Dune. Is that space cocaine, which is also technically fuel, is like the dominant control of that space cocaine is the kind of like prime driver of the book, and one of the few things that they leverage throughout the book. Oh, this is for the outside of the panel. Okay. But yeah, I guess a really fast plot summary is that this kid from a noble house um, gets saddled with the fate of being the chosen one because of like a bunch of random coincidences happening at the same time, and also his mom is part of like some kind of secret cult is the wrong word because they manipulate religious sects. some kind of order. Basically, his mom is part of an order that specializes in basically like giving people religious beliefs that will benefit them, the order itself, to create like some kind of Uberman messiah figure down the line at some point. And unfortunately, their plan works, but it works for the disgraced noble kid, and nobody expected that because he showed up like a generation early. We were not supposed to have the Gene Messiah just yet. And most of the book is just about him adapting to the desert life and is eventually like mounting a whole kind of overthrowing of the government. I don't know. It seems like a pretty interesting book. I find it fascinating because of the fact that it has like some cool ideas, which are not always fully. It has some very interesting ideas. I will say that much. Not all of it is good, but it does have a lot of good points, which is a, that okay. It has a lot of good points, and it's one of those things where it's like once you read about it, you start to see it in a lot of other places. Like a lot of the empire overthrowing and like mythos built up around this disgraced noble kid eventually becomes like the basis for like the idea of like this god emperor of mankind thing that you see in stuff like Warhammer. Let's see. It's like how you start to notice a lot of shit from Berserk being used in a lot of other places when you read it, except for it's like wherever there's like a religious conflict in a science fiction novel, and also there's sand. Like genuinely, the worms are like the number one most iconic thing about the book. Like if you're ever like, I wonder why so many deserts in video games have like enemies that are just giant worms milling around through the sand. This book is why. There are so many goddamn worms. It's insane. They make real nuisances of themselves too. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go a step further and say that Dune is a shonen manga. Like genuinely, every few chapters, you'll be introduced to like, oh, these are the Ordo M Preg, who are supposed to be like the dudes who can never ever be beaten at a beatboxing competition. And then during that very same chapter where they're introduced, you'll have a dude from the Ordo get absolutely fucking smoked in a beatboxing competition because his opponent was exploiting some kind of like little known trick. So that's a very proud shonen tradition of introducing like some kind of like power or gimmick, and very shortly thereafter, kind of deposing it either through brute force or just through random bullshit to kind of like flex on either how powerful the hero is or how powerful the opponent is. Yeah, imagine if like Naruto, instead of wanting to become ninja president, wanted to become like a sort of messianic ninja god. And instead of having the Nine-Tails Fox, he just did ninja cocaine. That's basically what Dune is about. I did read a substantial amount of the book before reading the plot summary. I gave my copy off to a friend of mine who wanted to read it before the movie came out. I should probably ask him about it a little bit, but honestly, it's not like it's a particularly dear possession. I wouldn't be particularly mad if he kept it. Besides, I'm pretty sure that with the movie coming out, it's going to have a bunch of reprints. Although I'll have to be very judgmental and try and buy a reprint that doesn't feature any of the cast of the movie on it, because I don't know, something about just looking at the cast of the movie throws me out of the immersion. I don't know. There are some movies where you literally can't picture the character without the actor, and there are some movies where like if you think about the actor too hard, it throws in the place of like when you're trying to visualize what the main characters look like, it just throws you off. It's like if in the Spider-Man PlayStation games they started using Tom Holland's face for Spider-Man all the time. Like it would just get very distracting. You're like that's not Spider-Man. I don't know who that is, but that's not Spider-Man. I don't remember Tom Holland's exact place of origins. Was he British? He might have been. Hang on, let me Google this. Domoland. Okay, yeah, he is English. All right, good to know. I was trying to open page 11 so that I could get started on that. Page 10 didn't have a whole lot left to go, so I think we can just start on page 11 and then we can start going back and shading everything. Can move this. There we go. We can have kind of like a pink background here. Maybe with like a kind of coolish yellow vignette. Maybe we should. Okay, wait, hang on. Yeah, I just didn't make it far enough. But yeah, another thing that I will say about Dune is that it's kind of like one of those one of those testaments to the fact that the most memorable works of fiction that get published are often those where the creator is at least a little bit of a pervert about stuff. Because like a lot of the kind of like background flavor of Dune is this kind of is steeped in a lot of like religious spiritualism, particularly like uh it has a lot of like references to Muslim stuff, and having and just interacting with all of those different like elements and stuff. I feel like it creates a very interesting world. So yeah, Frank Herbert is a little bit of a weirdo about like loving being super fascinated by other by like religions outside of what I assume is his own. I don't know what the dude's religious outlook is, but yeah, it's another kind of like winner in that regard to me. It also has one of the more creative versions of like an excuse for why people don't just like hit each other with lasers all the time. Because in Dune, whenever you laser guns do exist in Dune, but the problem is that they also exist like personal shields. Now, perhaps you might ask, is the problem that the laser simply cannot penetrate through the laser shields? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So it's not that they can't penetrate the shields, it's more like that whenever they do penetrate the shields, they create a sort of energy reaction that can create a detonation either large enough to kill both the person who shot it and the person who had the shield, or it can create like a crater the size of a city. So in most situations, people try to avoid using lasers because they're like, oh shit, we might actually just end up hitting one of our own dudes, or not even hitting one of our own dudes. We might accidentally end up hitting one of the dudes who has a shield on, and then we're all fucked. And so now most people I have a shield equipped, and they also have a what do you call they also have melee weapons to go through those shields because the shields don't repel force past a under a certain threshold of energy. So if it's moving like slower than a bullet, it can still hit. And so that's why people also still fight with swords in this futuristic sci-fi science fiction story. I will say that always gets a vote of my appreciation. Whenever there's a fine reason, maybe not fully, maybe a little hand wavy, maybe a little bit more elaborate for why everybody still uses swords and melee weapons in a science fiction environment. I'm gonna remove this little hole here. Okay, then over here, grab this color. I forgot Emilian to paint to shade in Emilian's whole arm right here. I got there eventually, but it took a while. Okay, then we'll also need. Hmm. Is the buckle on the right side? Hang on. Okay. Oh shoot! It might be on the. Wait. Okay. In this one, the buckle is on the right hand side. On this one, it's on the left-hand side. Okay, we're going to need to change that real quick. I have an idea for how to do it really quick and easy, though. Why not? Oh, right. I keep forgetting what this layer here is for. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip this around, and then we're going to have it come out of here. And also maybe move this around a little bit. Okay. Wait, even if I do have that, it wouldn't... Would it show up? It looks like it's a little tucked behind the grenade here, but... Alright, so maybe a small compromise. Instead of having the buckle flittering around there, we just have the end of the belt. Also, I need to turn off the ruler. Okay, and then flip this around. Perfect. Let's add some action lines here too while we're at it to kind of show that the grenades are dangling. Okay, just filling these in here. We can see just tiny little sliver of the goggle color here. Huh. I wonder if Hawk also has that issue that I had where I accidentally bought the red tinted sunglasses and came to regret it. God, the funniest part about those sunglasses is that they're also very much like those like super round John Lennon type sunglasses, so they look extra shady with the tint. I definitely look like I should be at a rave when I wear those. Which, if anything, is an endorsement of the product. Okay. Alright, I made the gun right this time. What about on page 10? Okay, I seem to have gotten more consistent with the gun, which is good. Although I do need to add the slits to the other side here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna make the grip of the gun here the metal color. Okay. We need to add the inside little bits of this futuristic thumb drive. The other day I was reading the Wikipedia article about laser discs and like optical storage media, right? It surprised me how many benefits it actually has compared to stuff like USB drives and whatnot. The one of the things that stuck out to me was the fact that it's very difficult to load a virus onto a CD. Or rather, it's less. It takes more effort to add a virus to a CD than it would to like a USB drive, for example. Because with the USB drive, when you plug that in, it can immediately it's like immediately touching and interfacing with your machinery. But if it's a disk, it even if it's red, you still need to like open it and execute it to get it to spit out to read and write the information. Like disk can very rarely write. That's why ROMs are very safe. I don't know. I hadn't thought of it that way. God, I remember how some people used to find USB drives sticking out of the walls and such, and they were like, "Oh, this looks interesting. I wonder if it'll lead me on a fun little adventure." And then when they opened it, it was like almost always some shit like footage from Area 51 of an alien getting getting blown up with a bike pump or something like that. Some goofy shit. And also potentially illegal shit. Yeah, don't trust USB drives that are just lying around. Although that does remind me of this one time I was helping out at a conference for my school, and as a sort of a fun little, what do you call, like, I guess party favor, they provided the attendees of the conference with these key-shaped USBs that had the school's logo on them. And I thought to myself, wow, those look really good. And I learned that they had like each like a decent amount of memory. Like I think it was something like 2 GB per key. And I was like, huh, that's funny. So I just grabbed a handful. Oh, another rice piece? You got it. Hang on, let me find a way to kind of surround myself with these. So maybe I can put this one behind me. Hang on. It's a little bit difficult to navigate my OBS scenes. Oh, here we go. Oh, also do shut your ears for around 30 seconds because I am about to run an ad. It is about that time. So Please duck your heads for around 30 seconds. Stretch, get some water, go to the bathroom. I don't know. What else can you do in 30 seconds that isn't too committed, but is good for you? It can't be a physical thing. Because we already have it covered with like stretch. I guess you could try. Oh, I still have the opacity down on some of this, but I guess you could try to do some exercise. Like maybe that would be a funny idea. Just like dropping "Gimme 20" as a break from the stream. God, like some kind of drill sergeant VTuber who's like, "All right, maggots, I'm about to run an ad. If I don't see y'all hustling and giving me at least 20 by the time I come back, you will pay for your subscription. Thank you very much to let me read this. Fluffy Butt number 5455. Welcome to the platoon, soldier." There almost certainly is some dude out there who is just doing a full-on military sergeant impression at all times as a VTuber. There's no way there isn't, right? I don't know. I think the main issue is that most people don't really like the military, so I feel like having that as your theme might be a little bit, I don't know. It'll be a little bit harder to handle than most. I know V is friends with this one guy, Hanao, whose thing is that he's like the leader of a PMC, which has a slightly different vibe, but it still allows for stuff like calling his fan base a Peon Platoon or something like that, or Peon. I should try to emphasize it that way because otherwise it sounds strange. I mean, yeah, I do hope that your platoon is made up of peons. That's how you, as a ruling class, is supposed to manage war, buddy. Okay. Then. Okay, am I missing anything from this part here? Oh, I forgot the little heart. I have a good idea for an effect that I can do here. Hang on. So let's get this color for the tent in here. At the millipen. All right, so here's the idea. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to see on the asset store if there's like an asset for like broken glass or a crack. And that way I can have like the kind of romantic pink background crumble away in favor of like the cold, harsh reality of, hey, we're getting lightning shot at us. Now, if you own Clip Studio, here's your reminder to log into the Clip Studio app every single day this month or so, because they are giving away free currency for the asset store. And they have some good stuff in there. Let's see. So, crack. Let's see, crack brush. Stick it on right. That might help. Oh, there's a broken wall 3D asset. That sounds useful. But not really what I need right now. Maybe if I put in like broken. Or shattered. May I can find it among the existing materials that I have. Here we go. Oh, this is a brush. Alright, fair enough. How about effect or background? There. This is a different kind of crack, I think. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's the idea, I think. We'll do this on a separate layer so we can handle it a little bit more easily. And then I guess we gotcha for it until we get the result we want. Okay. Let's see. Alright, let's start right here. So what we're doing here is that we're just trimming this so that we have a clean break from the pink zone to the green zone. Somehow that sounded like a very Teletubbies sentence. I feel like that would show up in a Teletubbies cartoon at some point. As the topic of the day. Let's break the green zone and the pink zone up into two different zones. God, I can't do a parody of like an animated children's cartoon bit without thinking of that Vine where like the TV is like, "Who's that Pokemon?" and the guy goes like very intensely, "It's Pikachu," and then it's like, "That's Dodrio," and I'm like, and they're like, "Fuck!" They cuss very loudly. Okay. So beneath this, we're going to add another layer, and here we're just going to fill in the glass. In some parts, it's more comfortable for me to use the fill tool, and in other parts, it's more comfortable for me to use the brush. And even having a little hole here for the background to peek out of. God, accidentally hitting tab on Clip Studio Paint has to be one of the worst things you can do for yourself. I don't know, it just changes the UI of the program in a way that I'm not really familiar with. And what we can also do is just grab a couple of these shards and have them like almost crumble downward a little bit. Okay. If I just keep using the same shape over and over, do you think anybody will notice? God, that is a funny mental image though. Like, imagine you get so caught up with your girlfriend that you temporarily exit reality. I will need to put Hawk on a separate layer to really sell the effect though. Okay, why is this not letting me select Hawk? There we go. Okay, paint in this, and this. God, I love indoor scenes. The main issue with things that take place in like outdoors environments, or actually, yeah, mostly outdoors environments, is that they take place outdoors, which notably has a lot of detail and fascinating things to look at. But unfortunately, that spirit of beauty and magnificence for life is very difficult to capture within a two-dimensional canvas. So you have to learn to juggle that a little bit. When it's just like inside of a tent, like a random tent, slap some green back there and just call it a day. I fully believe that Saw as a movie would work also great as a comic because the main location is the bathroom where the two guys are chilling. That would be like a great comic book adaptation, or rather than being a great comic book adaptation, it'd be an adaptation that would be really, really easy to draw. I've never actually seen the Saw movie. I assume the two guys are in there because they're out of toilet paper and they have to duel for the last piece. Hmm. Weirdly enough, I never considered Saw to be like a particular horror movie. Like I got scared by it as a kid because because a little puppet bastard freaked me out. But or was that Chucky? I don't remember. I also remember being very scared of Chucky as a kid. Actually, I remember a lot of my childhood spent in fear of things. Thankfully, I had a warm family to help support me. Seriously, having people who being surrounded by people who love you is for sure top five one of the best ways to make sure that you never get to up your own ass about some stuff. Because like, as a child, I had like a lot of people who cared for me and liked me, and they wanted what was best for me. And so whenever I was like whirling out of control, they would be like, it's okay, little Pabs. You'll be all right." I'm like, and I would believe them because I trust them. As it turns out, things were pretty much all right for the most part, with some rather notable exceptions. But for the most part, everything was all right. And really, that's all you can ask for these days. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need everything to be all right. Was that one Calvin and Hobbes comic where Calvin was like, if our government got 75% of things right, everybody would be ecstatic. Like that's not very high for like a test average, but like as a batting average in real world situations, 75 is pretty good. So 75% okay. That would be ideal. Like ideally 100% is also good, but like I'm not greedy. I understand that you can't work miracles for everything. So 75% I think is a reasonable estimate. You know, a long time ago, I was talking about to other people about things that I could do to spice up the stream, particularly for the VODs. So my concern a long time ago was like because I mute the background music for the VODs, there would be like these long periods of radio silence, and I would try to fill that silence, right? Like I would try to avoid going for longer than like a couple of minutes or like 30 seconds without talking because I feel like that's good space, right? If you don't talk for like 15, if you don't talk for like 5 seconds, that's a decent pause. That's not a huge gap there, right? Like that's easy right there. Like that was a reasonable amount of time to wait for like the other word to come out. However, once you start getting into like the 30-second stretches of where I'm just not talking, it would be nice to have something to fill in the background there. And I don't know, I've also started getting into like for me, it's also the fact that if I'm listening to something, I also like to have something in the background. Like it's nice to have like a low level of ambient noise to back up whatever you're listening to, which probably isn't great for my brain. But I'm the one calling the shots here, not them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to find I was trying to find a balance of things that I could add that would be unintrusive, but would still provide some level of background noise. So anybody listening to the VOD might not feel super um, lonely. That they might not be like, huh, it's still playing, stuff like that. I don't know. For me, it's a thing where like if I have like a music album where some albums do this thing where like they accidentally tack on a little bit too much time at the end of the song, and what happens then is like you can't tell if the song has stopped right as it ended or if it's like just taking a while to get there. And by the time you reach over to check the actual device that you're listening through, it's already kind of over the hill, right? It's already moved on. Ooh, excuse me. Daylight saving is hitting pretty hard. But yeah, I thought about experimenting with that a long time ago. And the main thing that I wanted to use for that was this software called Mech Vibes, which is this software that simulates the sound of keystrokes and whatnot. So for like mechanical keyboards, right? You can have a. Hang on, I might need to pull out the actual thing about here. There we go. Oh, well, that's actually pretty on the money with the color of it. I'll probably change it up once we have the panel a little bit more worked out, but this is fine for just an initial pass. I'm pretty sure I was talking about something, but I forgot. Yeah, no, it's gone. It's long gone. Oh yeah, wait, Mech Vibes. Now I remember. But yeah, the only issue with that is that the problem is that it doesn't mimic the sound of mechanical keyboards with sufficient diversity. So after a while, I feel like it's just going to sound like random clicking rather than anything soothing. I don't know. Maybe I can just put like a fireplace audio loop in the background. Yeah, that'd be something. I'll just put like a Minecraft fire effect on the screen, like maybe on the top right, and just have that be crackling over the radio. Just to fill in empty space for when I can't think of anything to say. It could be done. I could just set up another channel to pump the fire audio through, not to the VOD, not to the live, but to the VOD. I don't know. Do people even like fire type sounds? I feel like maybe an ocean wave might be better. No. I don't know. For me, fire crackling, I like the ocean wave would make me feel more at home, but the fire crackling would soothe me more. Just because something is familiar to you doesn't necessarily mean that it's comforting, right? Same idea. Ocean waves aren't particular. The sound of ocean waves don't particularly calm me down. They are nice to listen to while you're trying to fall asleep, but I don't know. I feel like that's almost more repetitive than just having the background be empty. There's lots to think about. I wish there was somebody who had an example. I don't know. I'm the kind of person who works best when somebody's already tried to do it, because then I can approach it through that lens, right? Like I know that it'll be possible, and I know like what some people have done with it already, and that gives me some room to try and make it my own. Weirdly enough, the cool thing about like adding, I remember there was this one. So there's this thing called GDC, right? And that's a game developers conference. And the thing is that they are kind enough to record some of the panels that they have And one of the panels that they had a quote that I like to remember during times like these, which is that if you don't know what it'll look like when it's finished, nobody else will. Like, you're going to make something that nobody's ever seen before. And obviously that's not always true, but I think it's an interesting rule of thumb to live by. You know, it's got a similar vibe to me of like, do it scared, right? Like, even if you have no idea what this is going to look like in the end product, it's not a bad idea to just like get in there and start trying stuff already. What color is like the Thunderbolt gun from Doom? I want to use that. Wait, no, Doom has like a plasma cannon, doesn't it? Hang on, plasma gun. Yeah, plasma rifle. Plasma rifles shoot multiple rounds of plasma energy, frying some demon butts from the Doom instruction manual. Here we go. Plasma gun being used in a deathmatch play on Gothic DM. Wait, no, I'm thinking of friggin' Blood. Blood has the electricity gun, or the Tesla cannon. Yeah, here it is. That's a sucker. Do they have a picture of it being fired? Tesla cannon fire. Well, no, maybe I shouldn't look up Tesla fire because that's just going to lead to the cars exploding. Tesla cannon blood. And then I'll just go through the images of it. There's got to be like one of it in action, right? Come on. Show me what I want to see. Half of these are for Fallout. Hang on, if I look up the animation for it. Screw it, let me just look up a YouTube video. Blood Tesla cannon. Oh, here we go. Wait, no. God damn it, these are all mods. Hang on. Blood All Weapons Showcase. Here we go. Conventional firearms, demolitions and flamethrowers, explosive/bombs, energy weapons. Here we go. If you show me Blood 2, I'm kicking your ass. Oh, here we go. Oh, I see why. Hang on. Check this out. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new canvas and I'm going to show you all the kind of frame by frame replay of the Tesla cannon fire. So, wait, this is the alt fire. I might as well show off the alt fire. So, hang on. Got the gun charging. Okay. This is when it actually arcs out. And you can see that it almost releases like a sort of flattened disc outward when it sparks out the electricity. And this is for the alt fire. I think that might be a good inspiration for like what the gun is supposed to look like. Hang on. It also leaves like this spider trail of energy behind, which I think might be good. Also, I am just now realizing there might be some stuff in these screenshots that might not be good for TOS. My fault. that might not be good. Let me just kind of quickly reach over here and censor these suckers just real quick so we don't get tagged anymore than we already have. There we go. But yeah, as you can see, we have interesting. So there is like an inner white, but it's very obviously got like some cyan in there, right? Like you can see that here. Sounds like a Kamehameha. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. All right, let's try it like this then. Sorry, plasma gun. Also, is this just me or is this like a different version of Doom? This might be like Doom GBA or something. I don't know. Something about it looks off. Okay. So here's my thought process. We add the cyan color here and have like and just select the color and then shrink it down so it has like an inner cap of white. And like an inner streak of white, and then we make that white be like Gaussian diffused. I think that'll work. I don't know why. For some reason, this movie reminded me of that. This scene reminds me a lot of that of this documentary. Well, I call it a documentary. It was this horror movie that is presented as a documentary. The name of the movie is Troll Hunters. So the idea is that there's like this group of documentary guys who are going out to the middle of nowhere in Norway in search of like the they're basically trying to interview people who troll hunt professionally. And I think initially they're like, oh man, these guys are full of shit. But then they find out that the guys are the real deal and the trolls are also real. And so the horror comes from them essentially kind of being ride-alongs on a troll hunting mission, and then finding out when things go awry, and just how monstrous they are. Seems interesting. I've heard a lot of people recommend it, especially as like a found footage kind of thing. Well, I don't know. Does it qualify as found footage if like it's not all documentary framing devices? I feel should be counted as found footage. Something about that doesn't seem right to me. God. Earlier, Cypress was talking about the what do you call it? The Thousand-Year Door super boss, Bone Tail, and I don't know. I feel like despite it being messed up that you have to fight Bone Tail after doing all that in the Pit of 100 Trials, I feel like it's also as as far as super bosses go, it's kind of relatively tame because I remember there was this one. Oh God, I live haunted by it. But I remember reading about this one super boss in like a Final Fantasy game that has like I think it was Tiamat or something that has like 80 billion health or some shit, and you have to fight it for like 3 days to finally like whittle it down. And even then, there's like an element of luck involved because it can like full res itself at some point. Like if I can take up to 14 hours or something, and that just seems excessive. Like there's challenge, and then there's just like being a straight up dickhead. I feel like you need somewhat of a balance. I don't know. At the same time, sometimes when game design is evil, it is kind of funny. Shan't lie. I do find it kind of funny whenever like a game is just intentionally for seemingly very little reason, just very antagonistic toward the player. I was watching a friend of mine, Marks, play a game called My Summer Car, which is this the description defies it somewhat, but I shall attempt regardless. So the plot of the game, from as far as I understand it through Marx's playthroughs, is that you are a youngster living in Finland and have been tasked with repairing a cool-looking car that while your parents are out on vacation. And this task would be very difficult enough due to like how the game makes you build the car, because the car isn't, it's not like you just collect the parts and then you're done. You need to collect the parts, and also you need to very realistically assemble the car from the engine up. And everything is out of order and requires like a different wrench. And it's overall very realistic, but one of those kind of like realistic where it's like less so fun and more so just like grating. And so I consider that to be like evil game design. And I find it comical. And it's interesting as well because like there's almost like an unspoken contract for those types of games between the player and the developer, that the developer will not like abuse the players. Like there, it's almost like a relationship of trust built upon zero trust. It's like a mutual understanding that the developer will try to screw you over, but at the same time will never be. How do I put this? Like you understand that that is what you signed up for, basically. That is the best that I can describe it. I don't know. I feel like to me, there's a difference between antagonism and straight up hatred, right? And I feel like some games toe that line very well. But yeah, like for example, the Final Fantasy Super Boss in question, that's hatred. Somebody was not right in the head when they did that. Like that was like back when I was playing Doom 2 and I was playing through Barrels of Fun. I'm like, who the fuck made this? And it turns out we actually do know who made it, because the Doom devs are very vocal about who made what maps and who contributed what to each map. And it turns out the man to blame for for that situation was Sandy Peterson. Thank you for making a very good game, Sandy. But at the same time, what the fuck was wrong with you when you made Barrels of Fun and also the Chasm? What was up with that? What was that? What was up with that, Sandy? I think his name was Sandy, at least. I might be confusing him in part with Randy Pitchford. I remember there was like Sandy something or other among the Doom devs. It's crazy how I saw the Blood video open, and it's crazy how like one of the first hits for that is still Civi's playthrough of Blood 2. You want to talk about Sisyphean about your Sisyphean punishments like we did earlier? Civi 11 is like one of those dudes who, it's like if Sisyphus. I feel like like being a YouTuber for something you like is like being Sisyphus, except the rock is like covered in like heart stickers, and also makes you money. Like they are certainly intensive labors of love, but they are also like your source of livelihood. So like I don't know. It must be quite an interesting relationship to have with your interests when you have to frame it through that. I guess some people can just be built different and deal with it, but I don't know. I don't think I'd enjoy art nearly as much if I had it as a job. That's also partly the reason why, even though, well, besides the fact that I'm kind of busy, I even though my commissions are almost always open, I don't like advertise them, right? I'm like, I don't like go like, oh hey, my comps are open, right? Now, to be fair, to be perfectly fair, I don't. It's not like I have people knocking down my door to get a commission off of me, but at the same time, it's I don't know. I feel like I can contribute at least that much to the conversation, so that's what I'll do. Oh yeah, I guess with the YouTube content creator thing, I guess it's also like if sometimes occasionally The Rock got so angry at something that you did that it leaked your home address to people who want to hit you with bricks. You know, I understand that in the English language, telling that someone that you are my rock is like saying you're like an emotional pillar for me, right? I understand that it's like complimenting someone as like you're something that keeps me anchored. I wonder if somehow due to like the popularity of the myth of Sisyphus, that might change somehow in the future. All right, I think we're good. I'm going to let her rip like Beyblade. Ooh, baby, that's pretty good. Let me see one more thing. And if I were to, oops, hold up. If I were to add like additional flares here and there, yeah, and then we can use the blue as a sort of almost like shadow for the thing. Oh, today I am a genius. But before we do that, let me duplicate the layer here just so we don't lose like the actual progress. Or rather the lack thereof. We have like a clean slate to work off if we fuck up. We won't, but just in case. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, and then we are going to filter, duplicate, just in case once again. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Bump up the strength. May even like add a certain hue to it. Pretty good. Let me try this. Ooh, I'm kind of feeling this one, but I like this one the best. Mainly because it shows up a little bit on the cracked glass here. Okay, going in and erasing some of these parts here, just so we have a little bit more breathing room. Horatio, who has been present for this whole kind of flirtation encounter between Hawk and Amelia. God, that is kind of funny to think about that like in the background of this intense like innuendo filled rivalry, Horatio's just back there like live dinosaur reaction. Okay. This thing about this mouth is bothering me. I might be on. Oh, this might be a bad idea. Okay, here's what let's do. Let's grab Horatio's colors. We only have 2 of them so far. Let's grab Horatio's colors and get him the fuck out of there. Wait, no, it's. Did I literally just put the mouth on there? Damn. All right, never mind. This might be easier than originally anticipated. I still gotta fix that mouth, though. Okay, erasing this part here. Yeah, okay, I think that'll be a decent starting point. Which one of these has Horatio's shirt? This one. Okay. Let me finish this shirt up real quick. And while I'm at it, let me add another line to the collar here. Mm-hmm. We can probably get rid of Amelia's ruff for the time being. I think everything we need is already being juggled between these last few pages. Okay, then back here for the color of these. What else is there to do? The horns, right. Very important. And luckily, I don't even need to go to the previous page to color pick for the scrap of cloth because that's the color of the tent. Oh man, it was such a big brain move to have her burst out of the back of the tent because that way I don't need to draw the front of the tent altered or changed in any particular way. Sometimes I'm so unintentionally thoughtful. Okay, then going back to this one, just filling in a couple of things here and there. Let me go back in and erase some of these little nubs. Barely noticeable, but I'll know they're there. Feel like I'm forgetting something. The cane. Not at all bad work. This way, if I think I am going to end it around about here, but yeah, this way we only have a couple more panels to go, and then we can go back to finishing the shading on page 9. All right, good work, everyone. Is anybody streaming today? Oh, Shy is going to be drawing some stuff for charity, so I'll be sending you all over her direction. All right. Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks again to Cypress for the raid, and I will see you all on Thursdays for some more art. All right. Later. Bye.